Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on Shri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Edu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at shrinews.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ghana works with U.S. authorities to pursue persons allegedly implicated in bribery scheme involving former ECG Managing Director Asante Kwaku Berko. The AG says efforts are underway to bring those involved to justice. Also on the program this morning, opposition MPP asked President John Mahama to withhold his assent to the Ghana Cocoa Bill 2026. We'll tell you why. Much later on the program, Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association (PRETA) gives government up until end of August to resolve outstanding issues with its members' conditions of service, allowances and promotions. Very much for joining us this afternoon. The Attorney General Dominic Ayine says Ghana is working with U.S. authorities to pursue persons implicated in the alleged bribery scheme linked to a power plant project involving the government and a Turkish energy company. This follows the conviction of former ECG Managing Director Asante Kwaku Berko in the U.S., with anti-corruption campaigners now calling for Ghanaian authorities to take up the matter. Anita Agbota has more in this report.
U.S. prosecutors say the scheme began in December 2014 when Ghana was facing an energy crisis. Over $1 million in alleged bribes was reportedly targeted at Ghanaian officials. About $250,000 was allegedly allocated to a senior advisor to the then power minister, while another $46,000 was allegedly paid to MPs involved in rectifying the agreement. 5 Ghanaian officials were also allegedly flown to Turkey on an all-expense-paid trip to inspect equipment linked to the proposed power plant. Prosecutors say Berko concealed the alleged payments through personal emails, shell companies, sham invoices and nominee accounts, and coded language. Goldman Sachs later pulled out of the deal over corruption concerns. The former tour managing director has been convicted by a federal jury in the United States and awaiting sentencing. He faces up to 30 years in prison. Back home in Ghana, calls continue to grow for the accountability of all persons said to be involved in the corruption scheme. Co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Senanu, is calling for a full investigation into the allegations and anyone implicated in the case.
It's important that we are seen ourselves to have done our investigations to hold accountable anyone who, as it were, has undermined the development of this nation and has taken resources that ought not to have been, filtered away. So it's good news. So my position is that our own institutions of state, agencies, whether it's the Office of the Special Prosecutor or the AGs, and if you ask my preference would certainly be the OSP, to go into these matters and find out the veracity. And if there are individuals who've already been stated, it's available in the court proceedings in the US. Let's take those names and begin to work to investigate and build on it.
Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Justice Ramsai says the Attorney General's office is working with the U.S. authorities to bring to book persons implicated in the alleged bribery scheme linked to the 2014-2017 power plant development contract between the Turkish energy company and the government of Ghana. Asante Kwaku Berko is a dual citizen of Ghana and the United States of America.
And Anita Agbota brought us that report. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has been highlighting the role it played in the conviction of former Tema Oil Refinery tour managing director Asante Kwaku Berko by a federal jury in New York in a high-profile international bribery case. In a statement via its official Facebook page, the OSP said the Office of the Special Prosecutor provided investigation and and evidentiary assistance to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, of the United States through Ghana's established mutual legal assistance framework. The involvement of the OSP has been acknowledged by the United States Department of Justice as providing, quote, significant assistance to this prosecution, unquote. And I'm joined by John Baptiste Ayeje. He's a private legal practitioner and law lecturer at the University of Professional Studies. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and then thank you for having me. A
conviction has been secured. The big question is how the alleged persons who, as it were, received the bribe face our criminal justice system now.
Could you say that again?
Okay, so the official has been convicted in the U.S. I mean, he's a dual citizen of Ghana and of U.S. He's been convicted in the U.S. We've heard the Attorney General telling us that the government of Ghana is currently working with U.S. authorities to also ensure that the perpetrators, especially those named in the story, also get to face justice. And I'm asking, how does that work for us here?
Hello.
Did you hear the question, sir?
Could you try for the last time?
Okay. How does the system get to try those who are found at fault in Ghana?
Okay. All right. So thank you very much for having me. What we need to understand is that when it comes to criminal offenses, it's jurisdictional in a sense that every country has what they deem to be an offense or what is not. So the first step is for us to establish whether or not the act that they've been convicted of is an offense in Ghana. As you all know, yes, the answer is yes, so it's an offense in Ghana. Then we'll move on to the next stage where the investigation ought to be conducted, all right? Because someone is convicted in a different country and has mentioned other people as being part of the whole scheme, does not automatically mean that those people have committed a crime. Once you need to ascertain whether or not those claims are even can be confirmed and the role that they really played. And we call something in the criminal jurisprudence mens rea. So that's a guilty mind. Whether or not they, when I say they, I mean the officials in Ghana here who were, alleged to be involved, whether or not they participated, knowing too well that what they were doing was a crime. And obviously to necessitate an investigation into it, and then those who can be charged if the Attorney General found that they've committed any offense.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, John Baptiste Ayeje. He's a private legal practitioner and law lecturer with the University of Professional Studies. And let me just tell you that the man we're talking about is not a former MD of ECG. He's rather a former MD of TOR. Now, the Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana has given the government up until the end of August to address outstanding issues with their conditions of service and allowances. The association says its conditions of service expired in June, with negotiations yet to begin, while promised deprived area allowances and promotion-related concerns remain unresolved. And King Ali Awudu is the president of PRETAG.
We are all aware that the conditions of service for the pre-tertiary teacher in Ghana has expired in June 2026. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is yet to have a new agreement with us. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission tells us that they can only give a 10% increment to the digital allowance, which is only 800 Ghana cedis per year. And we are calling on government We are calling the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Employment, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and Education Service to sit with us to resolve this matter, to prevent any industrial unrest. Moving forward, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, when he was a candidate in 2024, met with us, the teacher unions, and he made two major promises. And indeed, he mounted a number of platforms to still continue that promise that he will get it done. We are aware that his office directly wrote to the Public Services Commission to make sure that the scheme of service for the Ghanaian teacher, pre-tertiary teacher, is done. All this has been done, but we are bringing it to the attention of His Excellency the President that the 20% deprived area allowance that he promised for the Ghanaian teacher has still not been implemented. And today, we are even being told that it will not be implemented because the Fair Wages tells us that the government is bringing a new thing they call Independent Emolument Commission. And the Independent Emolument Commission must do ABCD. And because of that, government is not ready to give anybody any increment, neither introduce any new allowance. We think that it is a stab in the back. And we are calling on His Excellency the President that he sees to it that by the end of this month, August, the deprived area allowance is implemented and the teachers that are qualified to move from Deputy Director to Director 2 and subsequently to Director 1 is also implemented. If these things are not done, government should have itself to blame.
And you heard King Ali Awudu, he's the president of Pre-TAG. Let's speak to the vice president of the same association, Adukwe Ayikwe Awule, who joins us live on the phone. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello? Hello, sir. Can you hear us? Okay, it looks like we have a challenge with our lines today. Let's correct that and we'll bring you that conversation.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. 28th and 29th August. To register or participate, call or WhatsApp 0531 100927. Single 200 Ghana cedis. Group of 10 1600 Ghana cedis. Group of 5 800 Ghana cedis. 3FM Tour to Ghana 2026. Ride the rhythm, discover Ghana. Loading. Are you ready? 3FM Tour to Ghana 2026.
Brought to you by You Fresh Juice. Fratelli Calipo.
2 days, 3 regions. From Accra through Kwaku to Kumasi. Hundreds of kilometers of rhythm, road, and discovery. Hundreds of riders expect.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Let's see whether we can have a conversation with the Vice President of Pre-TAG now. Good afternoon to you, sir. I hope you can hear us this time around.
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to all your listeners.
We played the sound of King Ali Awudu at the press conference earlier, and he did say that if the government does not resolve this problem by end of this month, the government will have itself to blame. What does that mean?
Thank you very much. I think the issues that he enumerated, it's been a great disappointment on the part of government that all the promises they made before the elections and even after the election, all the pronouncements that have been coming from the minister, the deputy minister, His Excellency the President himself, about 20% deprived area allowance, teachers promotion, none of them have been implemented. And it has become a very great disappointment. So definitely we have issued this caution, and as teacher unions, we will take a step that would ensure that even if the promises are not fulfilled. It is meant for us legally, and what we have negotiated for, we will receive them.
Yes, and the threat. I'm not sure you answered my question. What does that threat mean? Withdrawing your services, what exactly is it?
It is not a threat. We have the right to... We have the labor law. There are a lot of avenues that we can undertake to ensure that what is rightfully ours comes to us, or we receive them. So it is not a threat. It is an action that we are going to take legally to ensure that the right thing is done.
Going on a strike or on a protest?
If it happens that we have to go on strike, we'll go on strike. If we have to go on a protest, we will do it. It is all legal. And then we will ensure that we follow the right channel, do what is legal and acceptable, and ensure that we receive what is meant to be received by the ordinary Ghanaian teacher.
And which of the two is up your sleeves? Are you going on a strike by end of this month?
Any of them at all. Any of them. Any of them can happen. We can do any of them.
Now, you talk about, the fact that this has taken some time. Have you, especially since you issued this caution, as it were, you don't call it a threat, have you received any response from any government official as regards what could be done in the next few days for you?
Last June, we also issued that same caution again. 3 teacher unions came together to issue a statement. And after that one, we've been meeting. Our condition of service have already expired as we speak. And the fact that we have not even negotiated a new one shows that the old one is still in existence. But aside that one, the promises have not been fulfilled. And when they called us for a meeting the last time, and then all that they tell you is that there is going to be an independent emolument commission, and then when it is formed, all those things will be dealt with. So there shouldn't be any increment, there shouldn't be this, there shouldn't be that. Now it seems the implementation of the deprived area allowance, which has been in our condition of services from 2009, cannot be implemented again. All these were promised. His Excellency, the President, promised that all those things will be done. The Minister recently even said it. And now it seems everybody is shifting the goalpost that there is a need to form an independent emolument commission. And the commission, we don't even know the legal backing. Nothing has been said about that commission. It has not been inaugurated. They've not started their work. His Excellency is in his second year. Very soon, campaign and all those things will start. So it is like we are just being, somebody is trying to do a quick one to avoid making commitments and fulfilling the commitment that they need towards the Ghanaian. That is how we see it. And we will not sit down for them to do that. Definitely will react to that.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Adokwe Ayikwe Awule, he is the Vice President of the Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana, PRETAG. The Ministry of Local Government has reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening local government through improved institutional capacity, sustainable financing arrangement, and stronger multi-stakeholder partnerships to enhance the delivery of water and sanitation services across the country. In a statement to commemorate the 2026 African Day for Decentralization and Local Development, the ministry highlighted the gains of Ghana's local governance system in improving access to water, sanitation and hygiene services. Meanwhile, the government has reaffirmed its commitment as well to deepening decentralization and strengthening local governance to improve public sector delivery across the country. Vice President Professor Nana Jeno-Pokwajiman says the government is pursuing reforms to empower metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. And let's hear what she said at the opening of the second National Dialogue on Decentralization and Responsive Governance.
The government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has begun to act. First, we have re-energized the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization as an effective platform for coordinated national reform. Furthermore, we have increased the proportion of district assemblies common fund transferred directly to our MMDAs, providing them with greater resources for local development. We are also advancing the policy and legislative work required to deepen functional devolution, particularly in education, health, and roads. The recent flooding in several parts of our major cities is a sober reminder of the consequences of weaknesses in waste management, sanitation practices, and the enforcement of environmental standards. The floods underscored the need for stronger local leadership, greater accountability, and sustained citizen participation. Government is therefore prioritizing environmental health and sanitation in local governance. The proposed District Environment, Health and Sanitation Department of the NDPS will restore operational responsibility for environmental health and sanitation to our MMDAs. The aim is to strengthen local accountability for one of the most visible and vital public services delivered at the community level.
And you had the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Let's speak to Evelyn Tima, who is our correspondent with the Vice President. Evelyn, what more can you tell us about what the Vice President said earlier?
Yes, Beatrice. So to ask what the Vice President said, she first of all called for greater citizen participation and stronger local governance institutions as Ghana seeks to deepen decentralization. And so she says that government's approach is anchored in national decentralization policy and strategic framework for 2026 to 2030, which seeks to strengthen local institutions, improve public service delivery, and accelerate development at the local level. And she further said that government is pursuing reforms following the recommendations from the constitutional review process. So other organizers, the main organizer for this particular program, which is the Ministerial Coordinating Committee, and the Executive Secretary of this particular committee, Dr. Dramani, also in his address emphasized the importance of democratic decentralization in Ghana. So according to him, decentralization, we are told that it was established in 1988 and legislated in 2016 and has evolved into central pillars of governance, fostering local leadership and development. And so Dr. Dramani is also asking that this decentralization policy and strategic framework for the 2026-2020 to 2030 is a new phase that is going to focus on effective implementation, accountability, and service delivery. And so basically it's a 2-day program which other speakers will be speaking. And so we also had the local government minister, Ahmed Ibrahim, who has been reassigned to the Works and Housing Ministry, and he was also there. He complained about funding not being forthcoming to the ministry for them to execute most of their projects that they needed to do. And so basically, this is what happened at the day one of this particular program.
Thank you very much, Evelyn Tima. She's my colleague currently with the Vice President. The opposition New Patriotic Party is calling on President John Mahama to withhold his assent to the Ghana Cocoa Board Bill 2026 and return it to Parliament for broader stakeholder consultation. The MPP says the bill was passed too quickly without adequate engagement with cocoa farmers, landowners and other stakeholders in the cocoa sector. The party is also raising concerns about a provision requiring prior authorization before cocoa trees can be destroyed or uprooted. At a press conference in Accra, the ranking member on Parliament's Agriculture Committee and co-chairman of the MPP Policy Committee on Agriculture, Dr. Isaac Yao Opoku, said the bill could have significant implications for farmers and the future of the cocoa industry. Let's get a quick response from Cocoa Board. We're joined by Sam Jerome. He is the Director of Public Affairs with Cocoa Board. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. The MPP says that the president should not assent to this bill because he feels that it was hastily passed. How do you respond to this?
Well, use this opportunity to extend greetings from the board to the good people of Ghana, particularly the cocoa farmers. I mean, the call by the minority, I don't want to describe it as baseless, but I mean, there is no premise on any legal reasoning. And I say so because if you are telling the president to withhold his assent, then you should pontificate to provisions in the bill which offends either constitutional provisions or are in the interest of the cocoa farmer.
The points they're making, I'll let you continue, is that it was hastily passed and there were not enough consultations. And so, obviously, they feel that it may not be in the best interest of all the stakeholders involved.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Would you kindly reposition yourself? The line is going off so we can hear you. Hello? It's a little better. Please try. Let's see whether we can hear you. All right. We'll have to correct that line. Our lines are not helping us today. Whilst we try to correct that line, the Ghana Association of University Administrators has reactivated its suspended strike, citing what it describes as widening disparities in market premium and related allowances between teaching and non-teaching senior members. And we'll bring you more on this. Let's go back to our story about Cocoa Board. Hello, sir. You were responding to my question earlier. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead with your response. We can hear you now.
Yes.
We do apologize for the poor quality of our lines today. Now, I was telling you about the Ghana Association of University Administrators reactivating its suspended strike. The association says that the disparities have created an unfair situation within what was previously an analogous senior member pay structure. The association has directed its members to stay away from work from today, the 10th of August, pending a resolution of the dispute. Now, it is a call to action at the launch of the 2026 Yehianu Afeshe, the traditional leaders at Jura Ishem in the Nzima East Municipality of the Western Region are now reaching out to the diaspora to fund a modern market which they believe will power the community's economic outcomes. And my colleague Rama Smith brought us this report from the Western Region.
Life has not been easy for traders in and around Jura Ishim, a farming community of over 50,000 people. Without a proper market of their own, they've had to rely on the Jura Dominancy market, which only opens on Saturdays and comes with its own set of headaches. But now, the chiefs and people are rolling up their sleeves to change that. Their vision? A modern, fully equipped market center right here at Jura Ishim.
From here, we move from this place to Dominancy for market. The road is not even good at all, and the place is far. So for us to get that ultramodern market here, I hope everybody is happy today. As you can see, that is why when we met there, people were also contributing in order to get the market early as possible.
Because you know, I'm more so to abroad. I'm fancy a snow sent to me now. You know, that says, market to be Bahasia. A boy and Pantable na Mobia, a so to me call Dominancy, no one to Yanko Biano, or better she marketer, the Ope Biano, obit me and ya, not what off, not a man on some motor near man on some, a boy.
The first phase alone will include 104 stores, a police post, and a health center. The entire project is expected to take 5 years to complete, with a price tag of about 50 million cedis. Speaking to the media after the Yeyinu Afashe launch set for October 4 and the official sword curtain, Chief of Anomabo, a suburb of Jura Ishim, Nana Kwame Mesua II, said the festival is about leaving a legacy. The Queen Mothers have also called on Ghanaians abroad to pitch in and turn this dream into a reality.
Yes, I did not say Abana or Yedia. A quite a fast being scan say. You be a fashion, and I say a Kayan and Anum. To see a Kayan and Anum, they see your BB, or Boho, we see her. I'm a Mrepum, Mquaram by Chilino, almost one who said.
Irama Smith brought us that report from the Western region. That's it for the Midday News here on 3FM and 92.7. My name is Beatrice Sedu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to srinews.com for more news.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) Board Chair calls for a clear legal framework to prioritize protection of depositors' funds as government tackles distressed companies, non-performing loans and post-commencement financing.
Causing a frenzy.
See if we can come up with depositors when companies are going through this liquidation.
Also ahead, importers welcome port congestion relief measures as costs mount. Plus, government 6.217 billion cedis borrowing target oversubscribed by 87.2% as investors pile into treasury bills. I am Bismarck Hausa. We'll bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. A clear legal and regulatory framework that prioritizes the protection of depositors' funds when companies, particularly financial institutions, become distressed has been proposed by the board chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), Edu Ananianchi. He says the framework must clearly establish the order of priorities in the restructuring and resolution of distressed companies, ensuring that efforts to rescue troubled businesses do not undermine the interests and funds of depositors. Speaking at a forum in Accra on restructuring distressed companies, non-performing loans and post-commencement financing, Edu Ananianchi stressed that protecting depositors must be placed at the top of the agenda whenever a company faces financial difficulties, alongside measures to address non-performing loans and provide financing to businesses after commencement of restructuring proceedings.
The law we have now, depositors' funds are down there. Before they get yes, everybody might have gotten these funds before they get yes. That doesn't promote investment. People will not put their money into any financial institution, because if that financial institution is going down, they will be down there. Let us have a separate laws for them, which will place depositors' funds at a higher level. If I am making the law, I will even put them first, because it is trust. Deposited funds are based on trust. It gives you the fund, trusting that tomorrow when he knocks your door, you will give him back his funds. So let's try and do that. If we are doing that, I will not even mind GRA. Why should I put the money for GRA government when depositors are suffering, they need their money? Let's try and see if we can come up with a separate provisions that will protect investors, depositors when the companies are going through this liquidation.
And that was board chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Edu Ananianchi. Now, the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana has welcomed initial steps by authorities to tackle severe container congestion and gridlock at the country's port terminals. The backlog has hit operations along the Beach Road corridor and surrounding routes. According to the association, the congestion is driven by a surge in import volumes and delays in the turnaround of empty containers. Speaking to 3 Business, Executive Secretary Samson Asaki Awengobit said, while the first interventions are a positive sign, more work is needed. He called for further stakeholder discussions aimed at cutting the cost of doing business at the ports and improving cargo movement efficiency.
We were overwhelmed with the way cars will have to queue for days before they can drop off container. We also saw that there was also another traffic in terms of getting containers out of MPS and the rest to Golden Jubilee, to GGT. Port is virtually flooded with a lot of containers, be it import boxes or empty containers. And so it wasn't good for the industry. It was causing delays. It's very expensive because if your truck is sitting there, container sitting on the truck for days, what it means is that you have to pay the truck owner for keeping the track, because the track will have to go and do a turnaround time. And so GPHA have come out to reassure us the direction in which they intend to do to reduce the congestion and to also speed up by getting vessels to come and pick the empty containers so that there will be space for more empty containers to be received, and also encouraging importers to also come fast to clear your cargo from the port, and so that can also create more space for, because we are talking about all the terminals are full as a result of an increase in import and also increase in empty containers in the country. That is not good. Terminals are full. It's a headache to all of us. And so GPHA have assured us and they intend to engage us for onward discussions.
Samson Asaki Wingobet is Executive Secretary of Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Now, the Ghana Enterprises Agency, GEA, has reaffirmed government's commitment to strengthening micro, small and medium-scaled enterprises, MSMEs, describing the sector as the backbone of Ghana's economy and a key driver of inclusive growth, innovation and job creation. Chief Executive of the GEA, Margaret Ansay, said government remains committed to creating an enabling environment for businesses to grow and compete in an increasingly digital global economy. She made the remarks in a welcome address at the 10th National MSME Day celebration held under the theme Elevating the Future Generation of Ghana's MSMEs through Digital Empowerment and Innovation.
We stand at an inflection point. The digitalization of commerce, finance, and production is a present reality reshaping competitive advantage with ruler speed, and Ghana's MSMEs can never be left behind. Which is why today we go live with the MSME Digital Gateway, a gateway platform that is built with UNDP. Digital Gateway will place market intelligence and digital connectivity directly in the hands of our entrepreneurs. We will also integrate the Ghana Entrepreneurship Policy Boat developed by GIZ, which is translating regulatory complexities into plain, actionable guidance. We do not mean a generation waiting in the wings. The strength of our economy reflects what a nation believes about its own people. Ghana believes in its entrepreneurs, and we are resolved and ready for the work ahead.
And that was Chief Executive of Ghana Enterprises Agency, Margaret Ansari, affirming commitment to strengthening the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises sector. This is still Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, before we go, government's latest return to the domestic money market has recorded another strong investor response, with bids reaching 11.636 billion cedis, representing some 87% oversubscription of its 6.217 billion cedis target. The outcome of tender 2019 marked government's 7th consecutive oversubscription auction. 3 Business News Desk report has the details.
At the August 7, 2026 auction, government received 11.636 billion citizen bids and accepted 9.418 billion cedis, equivalent to an overall acceptance rate of 80.9%. The amount accepted was also 151.5% of the initial borrowing target, as government raised additional funds to meet immediate maturing obligations and other budgetary needs. Subscription rate was 187.2%. Our subscription rate was therefore 87.2%, while the overall acceptance rate was 80.9% of total bids received. The 91-day Treasury Bill attracted 3.701 billion citizen bids, with government accepting 2.362 billion cedis at a yield of 5.62%. The 182-day bill recorded 1.910 billion citizen bids, of which 1.191 billion cedis was accepted at a yield of 7.52%. The strongest demand was for the 364-day bill, which attracted 6.6 6.024 billion cedis, with government accepting 5.864 billion cedis at a yield of 12.98%. Compared with the previous standard 2018, yields have generally declined on the short-term maturities. The lower short-term yields, alongside the strong oversubscription, suggest that investor demand remains robust, even as government borrows at slightly lower rates on the shorter maturities.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on government's 6.217 billion cedis treasury bill target, oversubscribed by 87.2% as investor demand remains strong. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Eban Blend is next with Black Rasta, please say.